Might advise the applicant to.
Is there, you've heard all of the questions, concerns. I guess some of the ones that I might have is you said there was a traffic study that highway department said that you did not need. Could you come up and answer if there's other questions here, please?
Andrew Peters, 920 10th Avenue, north of Alaska, Wisconsin. The traffic study was, does the traffic study as typical? No, the only thing that was reviewed by MnDOT was the driveway access, and they approved that permit.
Okay.
For it to be adequate. As far as, I guess just the comments we've heard, I just, a personal one, someone said I'm not transparent. I'm hyper transparent, and maybe there will be an asphalt plant here. I never said that there wouldn't be. So yeah, absolutely. This is good aggregate for asphalt. It's not in our immediate plans. It's a very small site, but yes, I'm completely transparent about that.
What kind of depths were you looking at when you bored to go down on that mine?
And that's, it's generally I picked a bottom elevation of 928, 40-ish feet. We usually just pick 40 feet because that's what a typical hydraulic dredge could reach. So that's the maximum depth. It's so narrow there. The angle repose of the sand and gravel underneath. I don't know if a hydraulic dredge would be the best action. We'd start in phase one with just using a backhoe and reaching as far into the water as we can, maybe with a longer stick, maybe get 15 feet underneath the water would be the first step. We don't have any immediate plans until we get in there and see just what the sand and gravel is looking like.
And that's how you would mine it with you basically drag line it through the water, correct? You're not gonna pump.
No, there's no
the whole
pumping.
Yep.
No.
Gotcha. Any other questions of the applicant while he's up here?
How much traffic do you actually see happening for this site?
It's tough because it's demand based, but no, I know.
Yeah, just from,
I'm trying to overestimate.
yeah,
The one thing, and I'm sorry not to answer your question directly, I will in a second, but
Yeah.
this is a sporadic operation. Clearly, it's been 20 years, we haven't even run it. So when the demand's needed, it'll be quick. There'll be trucks on site. There'll be people on site, crushing on site for about a month at a time. Get the crushing done, 3 weeks or a month. Put up stockpiles, maybe do some hauling. The traffic counts, I guess I don't want to speculate. Casey, do you want to guess how many per day?
Probably
Casey
should
borrow, yeah.
come up to the,
Sorry,
so they can,
put me on the spot.
Mhm.
Casey Bauer, Milestone Materials, 4105 East River Road, Northeast Rochester. Typically, a smaller site like this, you might see, say, you could be up to several thousand ton going out of the site, say in a day. Well, several thousand ton in a day, divided by, say, 20 tons per truck. That's a rough idea, so.
One comment that came up to me that kind of I wrote down was the convenient gravel. Where do you guys think this gravel is gonna be going to? I mean, how far away is this gonna be trucked if you guys had to predict, or where's the plan for it to go?
Commercial customers, but also to like our asphalt plant. And a lot of at least the oversized crushing gravel might go into town, into our asphalt plant in Faribault. It's an exceptional resource for that.
I know there was concerns from neighbors directly adjacent to this property in regards to the property owner to the south, with concerns with runoff into his wetland area. Is there any preventative actions that are planned for that to avoid that? Or anything you can, I guess, expand on that?
We will certify this entire operation as internally drained
Okay.
once we get it going. Like I spoke of that dike.
Mm-hmm.
That will mean that every piece of the entire operations area that's shown on that plan will all be internally drained. There'll be no runoff outside of that.
Okay.
But It'll all infiltrate into groundwater.
Any other questions, applicants? No? Thank you for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just gonna make a couple comments. You either mine it as close as you can, or we put several hundred miles on the roads. You know what I mean? And we're running out of materials around here. So it's there. I'm familiar with Milestone, Crane Creek, or whatever name it is. But they are a good operation. They've mined actually about 1.5 miles from my place for years, and we've never had an issue with them. And they've ran an asphalt plant out of that a bit too, every once in a while. It is not 7 days a week. I'll say that, like you said, it's when they need it, when they got a project in the area, that's when they haul. And then it might sit there for a year. So that's my feelings on it.
And I know for public notification that it's, required by our zoning code, it's within 1/2 mile, which I know, or 1/4 mile, yeah. And it is also posted within the paper, so, that notification is out there. That's for every public hearing item. Is that, so, I mean, that notification was sent out for that.
I'm just gonna comment too. It's great to see all you guys here. I mean, to have this much public input. I mean, we haven't had a topic that has this much input, so whether it goes in your favor or not, I think it's great. You guys are actually all here voicing your opinion. That's what we need. To kind of piggyback on Charlie said, it is a pit that's convenient. Sounds like the contractor is willing to put in berms in place. There has been a traffic study, whether it's complete or not, it's what we have in front of us today. And the pit has been there since 1980. It's been updated permits since 2000. 2003, I think is what they said. So, I mean, it's been there for a long time. It's like Charlie said, it's hard to find good gravel and run out of it in the area. So it is convenient. And as far as the carbon footprint go, if you're going to truck it in from 100 miles away, is that better than taking it from 10 miles away? Right. So, I mean, if you're looking at the environmental standpoint, there's an argument to be made there too.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you. I mean, you're talking about the impact of hauling gravel further and further away. I lived next to a gravel pit, 1/4 mile from me for 15 years, and I've lived my entire life next to Camp's Pit, which is 1 mile from me. So yeah, it can have some impact, but I think that the impact of having to draw from further away areas to haul gravel is a big deal. I mean, that, no doubt about it. And usually the most economics behind a pit is being able to haul it close. There's no doubt about that. So, and I will, along with Charlie, I will give these guys a second to none as far as being on the ball and doing what they say they're gonna do. And if you have a complaint, I know Wayne and I have talked about many times about, hey, this is what's going on in the pit, and it turns out it's a different pit. But if it was in their pit, why, he was there within hours to make sure that whatever was happening, somebody was down monkeying around in the pit and wasn't supposed to be. And so they do take care of their stuff. They're very, very good operation. There's no doubt about that. And I don't think, as far as, well, the volume isn't there for it to be a forever pit. There's that. And so, yeah, it's to me, instead of hauling from a pit that's 1 mile from me all the way to that side of the county or to Faribault, why, it just makes more sense to. So that's my 2 cents.
I guess the only thing I might have to say, as far as like the asphalt plant, he said they would haul their gravel into Faribault to the asphalt plant. I live within, maybe a 1/2 mile of the large asphalt plant over on the end of town. And I never hear it. I'm not sure if that's because I live up on top of a hill and maybe it goes around me, but I don't know how far an asphalt sound is gonna travel for the plant.
I guess I'd just like to, add, I mean, the input is super appreciated and everything and I do see where all those concerns can come from and, noise and everything like that. And I do think that the state, the Minnesota Pollution Control, they regulate noise, dust, all of those things to what they feel is required, necessary to make sure everyone's safe. And I do think that, in a certain sense, to strictly move into an ag zoned area and not expect anything is a little bit, different. I mean, it could be a feedlot move in right next to you, and I can't imagine anybody would appreciate that if they weren't expecting it. So, I mean, all these things are permitted for these areas, and if the aggregate's there, it was bound to happen eventually.
Correct. Any other comments?
No.
Well, I am gonna make a motion to approve this. Is there any? Oh, go ahead, staff,
Just making sure the motion is with the 18 conditions.
with the 18 conditions, correct? Anybody willing to second that motion?
This is Matt, I'm gonna second that.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second for approval. Go through roll call. Garrett,
Garrett approves.
Julia,
Julie approves.
Matt,
Matt approves.
Ken,
Ken approves.
and I, Charlie, approve. Thank you. Item number 7.
What about running through the conditions like you did with everything else?
Sorry, we moved on. We approved that, moved on. We approved with the 18 conditions that were written in the thing. Okay, go ahead.
Next item is a request by Evan Carlson on behalf of EE Solar 23 LLC and the landowners.